It's time for some more Christmas in July DIYs. I've got some country Christmas ideas that you would definitely want to check out, so let's get into it. I found these wall decor pieces on wayfair.ca. I thought they were super fun, reminded me of country Christmas, and I thought we could totally make them ourselves. So there's going to be a few different ways that you can put together your recipe card. You could, of course, print it out if you have one. If you're like me, I have got a recipe book and well, I need to create my own recipe card. There's lots of templates out there, or you can handwrite it out, of course, or you can even create one in Cricut Design Space. I had played around with that and I was able to create one there, but I decided to use Canva. And I have got some templates for all of you to use. They're all ready to go, so you do not need to play around and try and create your own if you do not want to. But of course, if you want to, then feel free. I've got two styles. I've got one that's plain, as well as one that's looking kind of old and stained, as if it's well used and well loved, showcasing our family favorites. So I'm just in Canva right now and I am selecting the font here, Give You Glory. I thought it looked really cool and looked more authentic, but of course choose the font that you like. I'm going to write out chocolate chip cookies and then I'm going to copy and paste that and then just downsize the font. And you want to make sure that it lines up on the lines provided so it actually looks like somebody has written onto the recipe card. And then you just want to fill in the blank with your recipe and instructions. This is all grouped, so if you want to make any changes, then just ungroup the lines and do those changes accordingly to fit your design. Here is what it looks like without the stains, and then here is what it looks like with the stains, and I think it looks so cool. So now I'm going to head over to my printer. I'm printing out several styles for you to check out, but you can see how well this prints out. I am using an Epson EcoTank printer. You can see I've got two different sizes here. This is the 4x6 and then the 5x7, and here's some parchment type paper, just an antique looking paper, and this is what it looks like without the border. I found that the border made it easier to cut it out. I have a selection of some different scrapbook papers that I picked up from Michael's over the years, and I've got this wood canvas panel. It is 8x10. I picked mine up from Dollarama. I am going to be using this as my base. You can get these at Michael's, or I have even seen them at Dollar Tree lately too. So just find what will work for you. You can even pick them up on Amazon. So I'm just going to trim this off around the recipe. I did print it out as an image, not a document. So just keep that in mind when you are doing this. And I did print it out onto cardstock. So now I'm just going to take my recipe card and I'm going to figure out which pattern I like the best. I love this one here. It looks so pretty. It looks very country-like. So does the plaid. I've got a few different styles here. This one would look really good as well. My canvas here looked kind of rough on the edges, so I'm just sanding it off. And then there was also a little bit of wood debris on the inside here because this is actually the back side of the panel. So I'm just going to clean that up, and it just makes it so it's easier for me to glue down my paper. So now I need to just trim down my paper accordingly. I did measure out what I need, and I found that centimeters and millimeters worked really well. I was able to get a really good precise measurement of my canvas panel. So then I just lined it up accordingly on my paper trimmer. It just made it a lot easier to try and measure it out. Of course, you can use a ruler and a cutting knife if that is the way you need to do it, or some scissors, whatever you like. So you can see I've got a perfect fit. It rarely happens, so I'm glad I did it that way. I'm going to give this canvas panel, or the wood panel, a coat of some walnut stain. This is gel stain put out by Decor. I like to use a rag to just take it off, and then I take also a paintbrush and get right into all the little nooks and crannies, and then I'm going to continue to apply this all over except for that inside panel portion. That's going to be covered up with the scrapbook paper, so I did not need to apply any there. I'm using some tacky glue on that back panel there. I'm going to use a plastic card to squeegee it all out over the back surface. that just helps to smooth it all out nicely and then prevents me from having any spots without any glue. So now I'm just going to put that into place and gently just press that down. I did use a bone folder, and then I am going to go in with my plastic card to help smooth it all out. And I was being careful not to add too much glue, so then there wasn't any excess coming out either. So in the original piece, the recipe card was lifted up from the back panel. So I'm using some foam tape just to create that dimension. I'm just covering the entire back side of the foam tape. If you don't have foam tape, you could use just some regular foam paper, or sorry, not foam paper. You know that fun foam that you can use for kids craft? You could use that and just glue it to the back side of this as well. So once I've got my tape all in place, I then just have to pull back the backing of the tape, and then I will put this into place. I just eyeballed it, but you can measure it precisely if you like, but I'm one who likes to just eyeball these things. I could see creating a whole bunch of these for some family gifts. I think these turned out amazing and they were so fun to create. I can't wait to make some more. So I did a little bit of research because I was curious, like, where did cotton spun ornaments come from? Well, it turns out they originated in Germany, and then there was a few other European countries that adopted this technique. They started to create different figurines as well as ornaments, and I thought it was such a cool technique. I've been wanting to try it for a while, so I'm going to show you just a really basic and simple ornament that you can make using this technique. So I am going to be using some cotton balls. I'm using some jumbo ones, some white wire that I got from my local craft store, but you can use any wire, some white glue, some water, a container for the glue and water, a paintbrush to mix, some wire snips, and some pliers. They're jewelry making, they're round nosed pliers, and I'm going to start to build our ornament. I needed to snip my wire in half. I didn't want to create a super long one, and I'm going to use those rounded pliers to create a loop at the top of this wire, and that will create our ornament hanger. So you just want to just play around with that until you get a look that you're happy with. I straightened or bent the neck so it look more natural for hanging. I'm going to take apart my cotton balls. You want to take those strips. Some of mine fell apart, but that is okay. I'm making do. I think originally they had some like cotton batting that they used for the original pieces, but we are just going to simplify this. I don't have that. I just have these cotton balls, and this will work just fine. So now I'm going to mix my glue. It is about one part glue to 1 part water. You do want it to be quite liquidy, and then I'm going to mix that together. So you can take your wire and you want to lay out a strip of your cotton, and then you want to take your paintbrush and apply it to the glue to the strip of your cotton. I've seen people use a spoon to drizzle it on, but I felt like I had more control if I used a paintbrush. So now all you have to do is take your cotton and start to wrap the wire. This is a messy craft, so you definitely want to make sure you protect your surface when you're doing this. And then all you do is just continue to apply the glue and then wrap the cotton around, and you want to slowly taper it down to the end of your wire. So I think the originals, they were actually quite compact, the cotton, but this is really, really loose. So I'm just making sure that I'm applying enough glue to help to hold it together in the long run. And I did allow these to dry overnight really well in the end. So I'm just going to continue to work on this until I get a look that I am happy with. So I did end up going in a few spots and adding just a little bit extra just to help thicken it up in a few spots, and also just help firm up any spots that I thought felt a little weak. And then I went over it with some more glue just to help smooth this all out. And I did shape the tip a little bit just to give it a little bit of a curly Q. I just thought that kind of added a fun touch. So while this is still wet, I am adding some crystal dust. It's like just a clear glitter. You can get this at Michael's. I actually got mine from my local dollar store, but you can get this at lots of different craft stores, and it created a nice authentic look. If you want, you could add some coffee to create a nice stained look, but I really like this white look. Hang it up to dry, and here they are. Such a fun project, and I can't wait to try some different shapes. I think creating paper houses is really fun, and you can just create a little village or whatever. You can create ornaments out of these. I'm going to show you just a really cute, simple idea that you can create using a template that I found in Cricut Design Space. Of course, you can find basic templates online for free. You just have to do a search, make sure you're allowed to use them. And then you can just do this by hand. You don't need to use a Cricut machine. I'm going to be sharing a hack that I discovered using your Cricut Joy or Cricut Joy Extra. So as mentioned, I am using Cricut Design Space. They have a lot of 3D house templates that you can use in their subscription service. So I selected this pink one right here. I thought it had a very old world look to it. And then to the right, you're going to see that there is a red warning. That is because the Cricut Joy Extra does not score. So you're going to have to change that at the top, and you want to select foil. We are going to be using our foil tool to create our score lines. So I just changed those up accordingly. I am also going to be adjusting the size of my project because I want to create a little mini house. Of course, feel free to create your house design any way that you like for whatever project you are going to be using your house for. So now I am going to be using a selection of some scrapbook papers. I just grabbed a bunch. I've also got my paper cutter, and here is my foil kit. I am just going to be using the foil tool. I've got a light grip mat, my brayer, and my Cricut Joy Extra, my all-time favorite machine right now. So I'm going to just trim down this brick style paper. I thought it would be really fun to use for this project. I'm just going to, of course, trim it down so it will fit my mat and also be big enough to cut out my house template. So you will have to just make those adjustments depending on the size of house you are cutting out. Making sure I am aligning it all up according to how it's laid out in the Cricut Design Space program. I decided to use a different color paper for the door just to help it to stand out a little more against that red paper. So now that's all in place, and we're back in Cricut Design Space, and I clicked make it, and then I'm going to follow all the prompts that show on the screen. I am doing this on a mat, so you can see here the red paper is going to be where the houses are. I moved the door, so then that will be where the green paper is on the mat. So I usually do all my work on the computer and then I switch over to my device, but for some reason my device was not working. I probably need to do an update or something. So I did all my work on the computer. I selected the cardstock in the materials browse tab, and I selected the lightweight because that's the typical weight of scrapbook paper. So I selected that, and then I went back over into my program here. And you will want to continue to follow the prompts shown on the screen. So once you follow those prompts, this screen is going to pop up. You need to change out your cutting blade to the scoring or the foil tool. Now, another step which I never did, and I regret not doing this because my foil or scoring lines were really, really faint. You need to make sure that you select the more option under the pressure drop down. It is super important that you did that. I didn't, and my score lines came out very weak. So the machine is working on the score lines, and then once it's done that, you're going to be prompted to change out the tool again to your cutting blade. And again, you want to follow all the prompts given to you on the screen. Once the blade is in place, you can then select go and it will start to cut. So it's all done, and now all I have to do is unload it from the machine, and then I can start to remove the papers off of the mat. I like to put it down, face down, and then roll it back so I don't end up curling up my paper. See how tiny this is? I know it's really small. Of course, adjust the house size so it fits your project, but I needed this to be tiny. And I think it's so cute. And I actually really like the brick pattern. I wasn't sure about it, but I think it actually turned out really good. So now I'm going to start to fold along those score lines. As I mentioned, they didn't come out very strong or very dark, I guess you could say, or the lines weren't very pronounced. So I did make sure I just creased it really well with my fingers. But I'm going to just go ahead and continue to do this, work on the other one, and then we are going to start to glue it all together. I'm using this Beacon foam adhesive glue. I got this from Dollar Tree a year or two ago. It was still sealed up, so I had to remove the seal, but this worked really well. It has a nice narrow nozzle tip, so it worked good for just applying just a thin line of glue, and it had a really quick adhesion as well, which was really nice. Gave you enough time to wiggle it, so if you weren't in line, then you had enough time to move it. Also wanted to try this permanent tape here, and I cut a strip and then cut that strip in half, and I'm going to just apply that to my folded pieces, the little flaps. Just burnish that down, remove the backing, and then put that into place. Now with the tape, you get adhesion right away, and you do not have any wiggle room. So do keep that in mind. Be very careful if you are going to use tape. I decided to use a combination of the two, and I'm going to see how well these hold up over time. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue to work on this until I get the house all put together. So now I'm going to adhere the little door. I'm going to again use that Beacon glue that I have, and I'm going to put that into place. Now I wish I would have punched a hole out where the window is in the door, but I didn't have anything that was going to work, so I just left it. But of course that is a suggestion for you. I'm using a paint pen to create a snow line on the roof peak. I showed there's some dimensional paint that you can get from Dollar Tree as well. That would work really well, or any dimensional paint. But I decided to use the paint pen because I had better control. I did apply 2 coats of the paint pen and then allowed it to dry well. So I'm going to be using this cloche. I had painted the base, and you can get these from Dollar Tree. This particular one I got from my local dollar store. I'm going to create a cute little wintry scene underneath the dome. I have got a bottle brush tree that I picked up when I was in the States from Hobby Lobby. They've got some really pretty antique-y looking colors, and I'm using some branches. I'm adding a bead of hot glue at the base of the paper house, and then I'm going to put that into place. If you miss glue any spots, then you can just go in with the tip of your glue gun nozzle and add some to help seal it to the bottom. Adding glue to the bottom of the tree, put that in place. And now I'm just going to figure out the placement for my little branches. This is something I love to add, is a touch of a natural element to some of my projects. I just find that it helps to complete the look really nicely, especially something like this where you've got a pretty little winter scene. So once you've got the branches and whatnot in place, I'm now going to take some hot glue and add some to the base, and then press some faux snow into that hot glue. So I just put that into place, tap it upside down to remove any of the excess. You can take a knife to scrape out the groove that you have for your cloche dome. That will clean that out nicely. And then you can just continue to add some. I will even sometimes add some of the hot glue, press the snow into place, and then use my knife to press it into the tight spots in around the tree base and the house as well. And that just creates a really pretty wintry scene. Put the cloche dome in place, and then you've got this beautiful little wintry scene for the Christmas season. It has such a nice, fun country look to it. This video is packed full of some really fun Christmas in July DIYs. I want to thank you for joining me today, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.